Hi there folks, welcome back to Rich Reviews. I want to thank everyone who's subscribing to this channel, watching the videos, helping the least few films get more views. That's all awesome folks, you guys are wonderful. Can't believe it's already almost the end of the year folks, that is amazing. Where did the time go? I've been doing this for 6 months, that's also pretty much amazing. So after this review there may be like 3 or 4 more reviews and then we'll do the best and worst of the year, although I think we're going to do worst first because who doesn't love trashing the worst films one more time before the year is up. Isn't that amazing folks? So in the latest of the films that didn't get a wide release in theaters, didn't make much money or found their way onto the internet, the latest of these is Tower, and this is a documentary. What an amazing year documentaries I've had, starting off with I think O.J. Simpson and now ending with Tower, I think, or maybe there are a couple other documentaries earlier on in the year, but OJ was the one that pretty much got the ball rolling for this one. So this is directed by Keith Maitland, and this is about, on August 1st, 1966, and this is about, I think, it's past the 50th anniversary of this incident, when Charles Whitman began shooting at the UT Texas Tower that left 17 people dead and 36 injured here, folks, and this incident lasted for about 90 minutes here, folks, which is practically amazing, which seems like an eternity compared to most school shootings sometimes. Keith Maitland does is he uses a rotoscope method, which is a form of animation. I think, you know, A Scanner Darkly with Richard Linklater, that is a form of animation. Please look up A Scanner Darkly and a couple other films that have that technique. So with that, along with archival footage, and later on what Maitland uses interviews the actual survivors of the incident, or now, I think, at the very earliest in their late 60s to all the way into up into their 80s. Some of them are actually just speaking about this for the first time. So Maitland also really doesn't go into Charles Whitman really at all. I think he sparingly talks about him, even at that. I think there's that one interesting dark joke in Full Metal Jacket about him, I guess. So the specific stories include Claire Wilson, who was pregnant at the time, was one of the first shot along with her boyfriend Tom Ekman, who he falls down on the ground, and the ground here is hot, folks. And so she has to lay there for about a good hour before anyone helps her. Before she gets carried off from the line of fire, another student named Rita pretends, like she goes over there and she pretends to play dead or something, and she helps Claire stay alive by asking her a set of questions here. And it's really interesting. Alex Hernandez was on his paper route at the time when he and his cousin were both knocked off by the shooter's bullet, and what they eventually ended up doing was going to the hospital, more or less. News reporter Neil Spice, who was driving in a station wagon with an FM radio here, and he's been able to broadcast this stuff as well as help people get behind the station wagon here. As the minutes were on, people who do eventually have things that they can shoot with do try to shoot at the tower and try to hit the shooter, although if they can't quite manage to make it, those who with actual rifles try to shoot, but they themselves don't have a clear shot to take out the shooter here. Then we get a counterpoint argument from Brenda Bell. She was in one of the buildings along with a cop who sees his friend get shot, and her argument is basically, well, at that point I realized I was a coward. At that point you do realize, yes, some people can do things when their lives depend on it, and they can do heroic acts and never think twice about it, while other people are just like, nope, I can't do this, I'm not going out and risking my life to possibly save someone else's while I could get killed in the process. Also, there's another cop who sees his friend who is being tended to even though he dies later on, and he is interviewed like a few years back before he died, and it said, yeah, it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda situation, and then it's like, you know, should I have been there? Yes, I could have been there, but again, I was in a hold-up in a building trying to shoot the guy off from the tower, basically, here. Alan Crum is assisting one of the victims. He tries to help the police take out this guy here. All the while, as the shooting is going on and people are getting hurt and people are dying, they try to escort them off the playing field. Like eventually they sort of run out of ambulances and they had to take these people up in hearses, which I think is quite bizarre, but it works. This is also, quite frankly, a time when basically no one has ever even heard of the word active shooter on campus this time, and there are always school shootings, they just never really got reported, or no one really died, just people got shot and they got treated. Before this time, The most active shooting on a campus occurred in 1940 in California. Before that, it was in 1898 in West Virginia when 6 people had died in a school shooting. And it's like, now we experience a school shooting every, maybe like 6 months or something like that. Or it's like, we constantly hear about these shootings on campus, and sometimes there may or may not be reported at all. So at this point, Alan Crum and 2 police officers, including Ray Martinez and Houston McCoy, and Crum asked to be deputized. Amazingly enough, he is actually. And they describe what it is like to go up to an active shooter situation, and basically they say it's like time stops for all intents and purposes, and it's like, yes, they realize, oh yeah, there are a couple more people here that have been shot or injured or playing dead until now. They've had to take out this shooter on this deck, and then when they do, I think Crum waves a white handkerchief to signal that yes, everything is done. Of course, because I think Crum died in like 2001, these 2 police officers that were there on the rooftop right when this happened are still alive, and one of these officers has a few choice words to say about the police commissioner, in which they had a press conference like shortly thereafter that night. And you should really credit the editor for weaving back and forth all this footage, the rotoscope, the actual interviews with these people who now finally have something outlet to say about it, because back then there probably wasn't, grief counseling. One of the sadder moments is when Neil Spice is reading off the names of the people that died and ended up being the grandson of one of the local newscasters. As the girl who was pregnant, her baby died. Again, that's sad. I think she eventually adopted another child. Again, the woman who rescued her died, who was there to try to save her. She died like early 90s or something. And the person who rescued her, they finally have a face-to-face conversation, and that's pretty interesting. This is a really powerful documentary. I think you all should seek this film out. Again, documentaries having a banner year. It played in one of the Texas film festivals, I think South by Southwest. And I give this a super awesome rating. Just go see this film, folks. Seek it out wherever you can. It's playing online. There you go. So, folks, what do you think about Tower? Did you happen to like it? Did you happen to care for it all? Please put that in the comment section, folks, below. That'd be awesome, folks. If you want to see more of me and more of what I do, click subscribe and let it be that, folks. As always, I'll see you next time, folks. Yay, you're awesome.